welcome to the Barbecue Toolbox. Hey, today's video we're going to answer the age-old question, how long do I cook a brisket? And today's answer is going to surprise you. It's going to be like what probably everybody else has told you, that you cook it until it's done. So today I'm going to show you my method of cooking a brisket. It's a little on the hot side, we'll call it hot and fast maybe, but I'm going to show you that today. Get up to about 275 degrees. We'll see how long each of these takes. They're probably about 11 pounds now, all trimmed out. I've got two of them. We're going to get them on the cooker and we're going to go ahead and get it started right now. First step, we're going to start with having a trimmed brisket. And if you want to see how to trim a brisket, 6 easy steps, just click on the little notification up here. It got a link to one of my videos on how to trim a brisket. First thing we do, we're going to season it, and what I like to do is build a few layers of seasoning onto my brisket. So first you give a little layer of salt, pepper, and garlic powder, and you give it a pretty good dose because brisket can take quite a bit. Next thing I will use is just a regular barbecue rub. So this rub typically go on pork and stuff. It's got a little bit of sugar in it, a little bit of heat, a little bit of everything. I just put a layer of this on, and then lastly, what I like to use is the Montreal seasoning. And this is a really coarse grind seasoning here, and it's excellent on beef. So I like to use the Montreals. I find it, it tastes good on burgers, it tastes good on steaks, it's going to taste good on brisket. I just like to pat it. You don't rub it, you just kind of pat it in. I'll say that's good, that's ready to go out on the smoker. So next step, get out on the grill. Okay, so the first thing we got to do is get the brisket on the smoker, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these briskets on fat side down. That way, because the heat from my smoker is pretty much coming up from underneath, I want to have that fat in between the meat and the heat to basically kind of act as a protective layer. So I'm going to go ahead and get those on there right now. Temperature is running at 295 right now, so as soon as I open it up I'm going to lose a little bit of heat and it'll come right back down to 275 right where I want to cook. Okay, we're about 3 hours in now to the cook, and I'm going to go ahead and give it another temperature check here. I've been checking it periodically. The last time I checked I was a little over 140 degrees internal temperature. I'm going to go ahead and check it again. One thing you need to make sure you have a digital instant read thermometer. These things are godsend for cooking on a barbecue pit. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a check right now. And the other thing I'm going to do is inside my cooker here, I've got typically the opposite side from your firebox is going to be a little bit cooler than right next to the firebox. So I'm going to take the two pieces of meat and I'm going to flip-flop them inside. That way they'll cook a little bit more evenly. Right now they're probably about 5 degrees difference in temperature, and that way I'll probably even them out as we go a little bit further. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going right now. The one on the right here is at about 163 degrees internal temperature. And the one on the left is about 160 degrees internal temperature. So I'm going to flip-flop these in here right now. I'm going to let them go a little bit longer before I wrap them, but it won't be too much more before they're going to get wrapped to finish out cooking. So again, this is the hot and fast method, and here you're seeing it right here. Well, we've been cooking now for almost 4.5 hours, and believe it or not, cooking these two briskets both, which probably weighed about 11 or 11 and a half pounds, all trimmed out, cooking them at about 275 degrees plus or minus. They've reached over 200 degrees now internal temperature. So, and it's going to depend on the piece of meat you have, but these cooked really quickly today. Typically 275 for me, it might be 5 or 6 hours, but today it took 4.5 hours to get up to this temperature. And I'm going to really now be checking for tenderness. That's the next thing I'm doing, is see how tender the meat is. Even though it's reached this temperature, it may still be a little on the firm side, and if it is, I'm going to let it go a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here in a few minutes, and I'll show you how I do that, and then from there we'll proceed to the next step. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and probe this. We're probably approaching about 205 degrees internal temperature. I'm going to go ahead and probe these briskets and see for the feel now. I've got it at the temperature I want, but the other check for doneness is actually the tenderness of the brisket. So that's what we're going to check right now. I'm going to give it a double check with the instant read thermometer here, but we're also checking tenderness. So this one over here on the right hand side is reading 191 degrees, and the tenderness factor is, it's still pretty firm, not ready to come off of the smoker yet. You give this one a check. Okay, again about 191 degrees. I think it's safe to say this digital thermometer probe is not reading quite correctly. It's off by about 15 degrees, it looks like. And the doneness, or the tenderness of the meat, isn't quite there yet either. So this has got to keep cooking for a while longer. Alright, we're going to go ahead and give these things a poke here to see how they're doing. And there we go. That's more like it in terms of the tenderness. Temperature is up over 200 degrees. I'm running about 205, 206. Other ones got the right tenderness, so they're ready to come off, and they're ready to go into the cooler to rest. And they're going to rest for at least a couple hours. Okay, so after getting those out of the cooker, we got them into the cooler here. And what you do is you take a cooler, put some towels in the bottom of it. Obviously there's no ice or nothing. This is just to keep it warm and let it continue to tenderize while it sits in this cooler. So I've got the first one down at the bottom wrapped in a towel, and then the second one on top of that with this towel, and then we'll go ahead and just cover that up. And then also what I've got here is some of my juice that was starting to spill out of one of the briskets, so we saved it, and I'm just going to go ahead and let this sit in here with the rest of the meat, and later on we'll save that and put that on top of the meat. Alright, here we go. We're going to slice the brisket up and get it. First thing we're going to do, we're going to separate the flat from the point right here, and you can kind of see there's a layer of fat that kind of goes in between the two, and I'm just going to slice right through there and just separate the two. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and start doing the slices of the flat. The grain's running this way, and here's the end that I cut to give me a gauge to start my slices. I'm just going to start slicing here across the grain. And so let's just check for tenderness. So it does the finger test and the pull test. So we got a good tender brisket. I'd say from a juiciness perspective, it's not too bad. It's maybe a little bit on the dry side, but It's still got some juice in there. I'm going to just finish up slicing this. So now we're going to slice the point. So usually what I do is I go straight down the middle with it. And then I start to just try and cut 1-inch cubes. So you can't complain about the hot and fast cook with this. These burnt ends are extremely juicy. So now what I've done is I've separated the fat with this fat separator and the au jus. So I'm going to take now and sprinkle and drizzle some of this au jus over top of the brisket. Especially the flat slices that are a little bit on the drier side. So give that a little, and give the little bit to the, and that's just about it. The rest of everything that's left in here now is fat. And we don't really want to put that into our brisket. All right, let's get in here and try a piece. Grab one of these burnt ends. A nice burnt end right here. Perfect. Nice smoke flavor. Not too much though. Very good. Let's try one of these slices. Whew. Still smoking hot. It could be maybe just a tad bit on the dry side, and that could be maybe because of the hot and fast. I don't know. It could be just the piece of meat, so I wouldn't get too down on it just from that. But either way, very good. And I'm gonna dive into this and gonna have myself some dinner right now. So there you go. That's how you cook brisket hot and fast. Started at 11 a.m. finished at 5 p.m. That's 6 hours in the cooker. Took another 2 hours in the cooler to let it rest for a while. Let all the juices come back into it. Let it tenderize a little bit more. Take it in the house, slice it all up, and there you go. I mean, that's how easy it can be. So next time you go and cook a brisket, think 275 degrees is the temperature you want to be at. You know, plus or minus 25 degrees, and you'll have hot and fast brisket just like I did today. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you like videos like this, go ahead and click the subscribe button below. And make sure you click the little bell notification. That'll notify you when I put out another video. And thanks, and we'll see you in the next video.